In this lesson, I'm going to show you how you can create a cast shadow based on the light source that you chose in the previous lesson and on the shapes that we created too. I'll be showing you how the light source in the previous lesson that we chose will help us with this. I'll be going through this in a demonstration, showing you step by step on how you can use a light source and your object in order to create a cast shadow on a surface. It's good to understand this system, as when you are creating illustrations or drawings in the future, understanding how the system works will allow you to create your cast shadows more accurately, again adding more realism to your drawing. By the end of this lesson, you'll have a few shapes fully shaded with the light source that you chose along with the cast shadow. Let's get straight into the demonstration. So it's going to split up into four main steps. What we're going to do is first, initially, we're going to determine the direction of the light source. As you saw in the previous lesson, when you move the light source, the shadow on the ground does change. So that's the first thing we're going to do. Then we're going to determine the shape of the shadow. Then we're going to follow this by establishing the edges of the shadow. And then we're going to add value to the shadow. So I've created a few guides, which can be found in the resources down below. I created one for a sphere, and then one for a cube too. And then just for an example of what we're looking at and how it affects the shadows, is I've created a diagram here, just showing that the closer the light source is to the center of the object, the shadow will be much shorter, compared to when the light's much lower down, you'll have a longer shadow. I'm going to show you how I constructed this diagram in order to create the cast shadow. So let's just get into it. So firstly, let's start with the cube. Let me show you how to create a cast shadow with a cube. So what we're going to do first is we're just going to draw ourselves a very simple cube. So I've got myself a very simple cube. Now what we need to do is we need to determine the horizon line and the light source. So I'm going to have my light source quite close to the shape. So I'm going to say it's just up here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a straight line down to find out where the horizon would be. And I'm going to say around here. And then I'm just going to draw a line out which will determine the horizon. So now what we're going to be doing is, for the top sections of the shape, we're just going to draw a straight line from here to there. And then what we're going to be doing is from the horizon, we're going to be drawing a line from the bottom of these shapes. So let me show you. So from here, we'll start off with the ground first, with the horizon level. So for 1 point here, 2 points, and then 3 points. We're just going to draw a straight line. One here, one there, and then same for here, like so. And then we're going to do the same. So from the light source, we're going to do the top edges, and then where they interact is where the shadow will lie on the ground. So now where they interact, so we've got 1 point, 2 point, and 3 point. So all we're going to do is going to join these up together. So we've got one here. Just like so. And this is how so this is the outline of the cast shadow. Obviously we would go in and would add value to this. We can do this just by a quick hatching, just so we know that this is the shadow. And based on what we learned in the last lesson, where we saw how the light would affect. So here's a quick example of, if your light source is here, your shadow would be on this side. And this same concept where you choose your light source, you pick your ground, and then you go through and then you add in all the guides. This is a good way of creating a shadow. And as you saw in the example on the previous one, the value was a lot darker at the base of the shape, and then it would move away. So that's for the cube. What we're going to do now is move on to the cylinder. So as you can see here, that was a guide, and then that was what we created. So we're going to do the same now for the cylinder. So I've got myself a circle. If you do find it easier, please use a compass. So I got my circle. So again, I'm going to choose my light source. I'm going to go for the same one. So what we need to do here is, because there's no point to connect the light source and the ground to, what we're going to do is we're going to put this inside a box, just so we have a better understanding of how the shape would be. Now we have lines in which we can use, so it's going to join all these up. So as you can see, by me moving the light source much further away from the shape, we've got a much longer shadow. So here's the box that the shadow is going to be within. So now what we're going to do is we're going to split this in half, and then we're going to split this same thing in half too. So the midpoint of here is around here, and then the midpoint is around there, and then just join. And now what we have to do in order to create the shadow for the shape is we've got to draw this circle inside here. So again, this is where the ovals that we've learned to draw come in handy. So turn my page, and then what I'm going to do is try to draw a nice clean arc from all the points. What I want you to do is to spend some time getting used to this concept of choosing a light source, determining where the shadow is, and then what we're going to do in the next lesson is we're going to add value to these shapes in order to make the whole thing look a lot more realistic, using the samples that we recorded in the previous lesson. Okay, so now that you've got an understanding with the demonstration of how you can create your own cast shadow, what I'd like you to do for the exercise, with all the shapes that we created in the previous lesson, I want you to go in and add the cast shadow to these two, just to kind of get used to the system, understanding the process that you need to do in order to create the cast shadow. Okay, so as a quick roundup of this lesson, I went through what cast shadows are and how you can add them or create them on your drawings. We did this on the basic shapes of a sphere and a cube, and you did the rest too. And like in the previous lessons, don't forget to upload it down below to the projects panel, so I'll give you feedback on these cast shadows to see if they're accurate or to see if they work. Or if you're unsure about the work you've done, don't worry, so upload it down below and I can give you feedback. Okay, so in the next lesson, we'll be using everything that we've learned so far, and then we'll be applying these to some new shapes in order to get you used to the full process of creating the shape, adding the values, and then adding the cast shadow. I'll see you there.